This is the Victor Stabin Project. It's a podcast.
Episode number 7.
Do we have a name for it?
The episode?
Yeah.
No, I usually come up with them after I listen to it.
Okay, so we don't know the name of this episode, but you do because...
You're seeing it.
Yeah. We're hearing it.
That's true.
Is there going to be any visuals? Are there going to be any visuals?
Soon.
Is that a visual?
TM. Trademark.
Trademark. Okay. But we did speak about throwing some images in if we were talking about something that could use an assist.
Could, yeah.
Because it's going to be on YouTube as well as your smart speaker.
Soon, yeah.
So, let's see.
It's submitted.
So this is going to be on YouTube. It's going to be on Facebook. It's going to be on Instagram. It's going to be...
Well, the podcast doesn't go to Instagram, but it goes to...
Okay, sorry about that.
It goes to Facebook, YouTube. We're now submitted to Spotify, iTunes, Stitcher, all of that. That needs to be accepted, so it takes like a couple days or a week.
Do they review your past podcasts? How do they do it?
You know, they take a look at...
They have a style council?
They take a look at... They usually use an algorithm to take a look at it. But they'll look like... I included your Wikipedia in most of the submission forms.
Really?
Just so it's kind of like, look, this is a relevant brand.
So
it's a piece of the
you
brand.
could listen to your... Oh, I'm sorry. You could listen to... I'm sort of going all type A.
Yeah.
Nobody knows what I did.
And then I equally was going type A at the same moment. Because I'm like, yeah, but the speaker. Like that's
okay, I went type A and I took the phone and I kind of lined it up with a box of watercolors that I have on the table. And so that they could be uniform. But
I'm
I didn't realize there was a speaker on the phone that was being utilized. So
I'm simultaneously on the bottom noticing the speaker is now not picking up.
This is as boring as it gets.
No.
Okay.
We're just getting started.
So anyway, if you can summon me through your smart speaker, that means I'm on the same plateau, or I'm on the same. What's the word I'm looking for? Nothing more boring than this. That's why we have editing. So you could summon me on your smart speaker, or you could summon the New Yorker Radio Hour.
Yeah.
Or you could summon Fresh Air.
Right.
Or Victor Stabin.
Right.
Okay.
That's what I'm here for.
That's good because you know what? You can't summon yet. I don't think you can summon articles from the New York Times, which I'd love to do, but that's another kind of subscription. So, for free.
For free.
Wow.
Yeah.
Do we pay for it?
We pay for hosting, but we don't pay for syndication.
What's the difference?
iTunes doesn't store things, so we pay Buzzsprout like $12 a month or something to host our stuff indefinitely. So we send it to them, they submit it to everybody, and then when somebody listens to it on Apple, we're paying for the place that the file is actually going to Apple to the user, basically. It's very ingenious. It's very smart.
So we pay a fee.
We pay a fee.
At the end of the year, we're paying about $150.
I think so, yeah.
And we just do that with one company or multiple companies?
One company.
Wow. But you have to qualify.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's mostly about all the stuff that we do. Like
it's going to be a bummer if we're going through all this explanation and somehow we don't qualify.
Oh, then we'll just talk about it next episode. It'd be perfect, right?
Okay.
So I wanted to talk about this last episode. No, I can't.
Hey, my phone just said that it was in my pocket. I apologize. Let me turn this shit off. Okay.
Victor, you're like the master of having your phone unlocked and doing whatever it wants to do.
I got a lot of spielkas. And spielkas will unlock your phone. But ask me. Ask me.
Ask you what?
What's spielkas?
What is it?
Do you know?
I'm asking you.
You didn't really ask directly. Spielkas is Yiddish for ants in your pants.
You've got ants in your pants.
Got ants in your pants. You're always moving around. So, you've got ants in your pants, your phone talks to you.
Or, in my case, it calls me.
It calls you? It calls a lot of people.
It calls me.
Don't take it personally.
Well, the one day, I gotta put it, the one story is, I'm, like probably 2 Sundays ago, I'm sitting in my office.
Yeah.
And scheduling out all the content for the week. Uh-huh. And you went somewhere to do something, and I got 10 phone calls in a row from you. It was like fantastic.
That was your day.
Like you're the king of pocket dialing. I had to actually turn my phone off. That's what I did. Because I wasn't having.
All right, let's move on. I don't have anything clever to say.
No.
Not about
Why
that.
don't you have your phone locked?
I don't know. That would be the clever thing to do.
Yeah, most people do it, especially because if you lose your phone, someone's got you. They got all your stuff. Like if you lose your phone and it's not unlocked, they got you.
Okay, let's move on. We're dying here.
We are dying here. That should be pointed out that
Both of us are like hocking up loogies
Somebody
from the
brought-
middle of our chest.
somebody brought like the flu into the Stabin Museum, and now it has passed through Victor Stabin's family. It's now on to me. I'm sure I'm going to pass it on to a few unlucky people.
Listening to this podcast will eventually make you sick.
Right. So be warned right
Yeah.
now. Take your vitamin C pills.
Okay, so what are the topics we're hitting today?
Last week I wanted to talk about Marshall Arisman.
Because of your mother?
That's a strange connection, but also, I mean, this is somebody that's important to your...
My life.
Yeah.
Marshall was the first teacher I had that I was excited about having in college
Okay.
because of the way he drew. His drawing style was very dynamic. His
Did you know
content-
that before you started the class?
When I went to the school, I said, I have to be in his class.
How did you become aware of him?
Well, he was published, so you would see his work in different places, and his work was real fresh looking, and all of a sudden he was discovered by everybody for like 4 decades.
Yeah.
But when I had him as a teacher, I think he was about 36,
Okay.
and I was about 20 or 21.
Yeah.
And when I went into the school with the portfolio that I had, I didn't know where I was going as far as like how good my work was, but I kind of pulled my weight in some sort of like make-believe way, saying, I have to have this guy be my teacher if he's teaching this particular grade level
Right.
or class level, which is like the second year of college or something, or the third year. I don't know what it was. So they said, well, okay, your work's good. I got into his class. It so happened that my work wasn't good. It was like as good as anybody in the class or the school, just about. And
You were still
Marshall-
at that point.
At the point, I didn't know who I was, what my talent was. But
Right.
Once I got into the class, I could see that I was in the right place, and it wasn't like they were going to say, you just eked yourself in.
Yeah.
So Marshall was my teacher, and one day Marshall took me out to lunch. It was a big deal because I looked at him like a hero. He was
Right.
kind of godlike to me. I was like, hey, God's taking me out to lunch. That's great. And
It's an interesting Tuesday. You know?
yeah, well, he actually hired me as a teacher when I was about 23 years old. And he hired me and fired me 3 times. And
That's an interesting relationship.
yeah, there's like one guy who is much better than me as an illustrator. He hired him and fired him 4 times.
Right.
And so I was going for it. But so sometimes like a terrific talent doesn't always make the best teacher. Marshall, on the other hand, was a terrific talent and a wonderful teacher. And
When I've heard him speak, he has that way of speaking.
calms
That's-
everybody down.
Really, it's incredible.
It's
The command of the language. he
imagine
has.
yourself being a little kid
Yeah.
sitting on the ground, and your grandfather's sitting on a chair, and he's reading you a book.
And there's a way that he's speaking.
And
He's got that way.
speaking, and everything that comes out of his mouth
Uh-huh.
comes from the top of the mountain.
Right.
So Marshall's a little bit like that.
Yeah.
And so you put him on the top of the list because of Lilydale?
No, I put him on the top of the list because he comes up in your story a bunch of times. He's important to your life. The podcast really is it's 2 things. Ideally, it's an exploration of your story through audio in conversation.
Yeah.
And simultaneously, it's also informative on things that are going on now. So I kind of like to... This is one of those that's like very much so part of your story.
Big time.
Yeah, big time. So
So
I
Marshall's
just
the
wanted
guy.
to dig into it.
Okay,
Yeah.
so Marshall's the guy who recognized me first as an artist.
Yeah.
And a little bit as a person. And I was an illustrator for an easy 20-something years, maybe almost 25 years. And I had to get out of the world of illustration because I just wasn't wasn't happy doing other people's work. As an illustrator, you're kind of like a fireman. I don't know if I ever went through this with you, or I hope it's not on a previous podcast, but bell
Probably is.
rings. What?
Probably is.
Bell rings. You go to the emergency with your fire truck. You put out the fire.
Yeah.
Telephone rings. It's a client. They want you to show up and talk to you about possibly doing a image for an advertisement or an editorial magazine ad or an album cover, and you got to solve somebody's problems. I got really tired of listening to other people's stories because I have so many of my own, and I just thought I'm going to be doing work that's 10 times as clever as the stuff that I'm getting for commercial assignments.
Yeah.
Or it's going to be 10 times more personal. And there comes a point where you have to figure out what to do, right? And before I got to that point, I saw a painting by Marshall that was hanging in the, it was a poster, hanging in the window of Barnes & Noble's on Astor Street in Manhattan. And it was a man kind of on his knees, and his torso is upright, and there's a floating turtle passing his torso, and his body looks like it's in flames, but it's in vivid auras of yellow and red and orange and all these golden warm colors. And I looked at the painting and I got stunned, and I looked at it again and I said, oh, it's Marshall's painting.
Yeah.
And then there was another painting that I had seen by Magritte where this guy is playing badminton. These two guys are playing badminton, and there's a leatherback sea turtle floating above the course or the net, right? And
Yeah.
so I saw these two paintings with turtles, and I just thought when I started doing my own work, I'm going to do a series, and I'm going to use a turtle as a protagonist, or as the icon, the image that holds everything together through this series of paintings. But it kind of started with Marshall. And I'd love to get him to paint me another version of the painting that I saw. And I don't know if he's inspired enough to do it. He said he'd think about it, but I asked him where it was. He goes, it was sold to somebody. It's in Europe somewhere. He has no idea where it is.
Of course.
And so that's my Marshall Arrisman story. The other thing about Marshall is sometimes I speak to him on the phone, and I'll call him up like at least every 6 months.
Uh-huh.
For the last 40 years.
Catch up. Yeah.
Yeah, and he never calls me. But he always entertains me on the phone.
Of course.
And he always seems happy to hear from me.
Yeah.
And he's always happy to get off the phone.
Yeah.
Because he's doing whatever he's doing. He's got a fertile brain, and he's doing something. And about 2 or 3 years ago, he called me about 2 or 3 times.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to say to him, Marshall, you okay? Why are you calling me?
What's going on with this sudden change? What happened? Yeah.
He snapped out of it. I'm calling him now.
Yeah.
But
It's short-lived.
I'd love to do a little interview with him. If we could do a video clip with him and talk about that painting, what was going on with him, and how it influenced me. And so that's the Marshall story. But somehow, did I show you the Lilydale thing? Or how did you connect your mom to Marshall?
You mentioned it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So he has a...
You mentioned this.
He has a documentary about
Yeah, so...
his grandmother.
Yes.
Okay.
And
So the documentary about his grandmother was a medium. And
yes.
she lived in Lilydale, upstate New York.
Yeah.
It's the town where Lucille Ball was from.
This is like the...
Which is, what, Jamestown?
She gets this,
Is Jamestown connected to Lilydale? Was Lilydale in Jamestown? It's community.
Marshall Arrisman's relation is from Jamestown.
Yeah.
Goes to Lilydale. That's the whole
Uh-huh.
thing there. And I didn't get through watching the whole thing, but what blew my mind is you were always saying, you had mentioned him about doing an interview with Marshall, or trying to get one, or something like that. You were telling me about this, and you told me to go check him out, and I went and checked him out, and I didn't go see it because it wasn't explicit. You didn't say something about Lilydale or any of this, right? And it just so happens that we get on the conversation of my mother, who's local to Jim Thorpe, right? Mm-hmm. And she had just got back from vacation, and she's always bringing me mugs from different places, and one of the places is a place that she does classes at, and it ends up being Lilydale. And that connection, that moment was really funny when it's like Joan and you in that room. And I'm like, yeah, she brought me one from Lilydale the other, a couple months back.
And we know what Lilydale is.
And the look was just like, oh my God, what? What are the odds of that connection, right?
Uh-huh.
So I go watch this, and funnily enough, my mother was there when they were filming that. This documentary about Marshall and his connection to that place. I just thought that was so weird. It's such a small world for something like that to happen, where there's that kind of really strange connection. I just thought it was odd.
Did they talk about Lucille Ball in that?
Yeah.
Okay, so Lilydale must be in Jamestown, New York.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where Lucy's from.
Yeah.
So if you're a small town and you have Lucille Ball as your ambassador to the world.
Yeah.
So there's two things going on in Jamestown. Lilydale and Lucille Ball.
Yeah.
Which is another level of wackiness.
You're doing all right, I guess. Yeah. You got a little strange pie, a little piece of the pie of Americana right there.
All right, so I think we covered Marshall. 1,000 likes on Facebook.
Yeah, it's more now.
Oh, was it like 1,010?
Well, at the time of recording this, we're at 1,234 likes on Facebook.
What? I thought it was like 1,000 yesterday.
Yeah.
It went up 200?
Yeah.
Because of that
We have a
schmaltzy little... What would you call that? That little video of like memories.
We did a little montage that you can check out. You'll be able to find that on Facebook. We did a thank you for 1,000 likes montage of all of the vlog content we've made since we started really pumping stuff out there, cool stuff out there. And then...
Cool stuff. Yeah.
Interesting stuff. It's behind the scenes. It's story content.
Because we're cool guys. And we're funny.
We have sunglasses on right now.
Yeah.
Ray-Bans, both of us. It's nighttime. And
it's the right time.
It's the right time. So it's 1,200 right now, and it'll probably be more by the time this comes out.
So why did it jump 200 in a day?
Well, one of the big things we started doing was we start running an awareness campaign. So we've got an advertisement out right now to gain new followers on Facebook. And one of the things was really I nailed down sort of who your audience, your target audience is, and how to kind of get them.
Mm-hmm.
And
who's my target audience? I'll say that again. Who is my target audience?
Who is my target audience?
Yeah, who's my target audience?
You listening at home right now.
No, but so they could be part of it, but who are they?
Well, the funny thing is you have...
Who are these people?
The funny thing is you have a couple different subsets in your audience, but we're using right now a lookalike audience to advertise to people on Facebook.
What does that mean?
So they take the fan base that we
people
built.
who look like me?
No. That's the quote right there. That's a fantastic quote.
Okay, I'm glad you think so.
There's a bunch of different advertising that you can do.
If you don't look like me,
you're not a lookalike.
Just tune out.
Yes. Tune away, Answer your question.
I'm sorry. I have a real problem with it interfering. What were you saying?
Lookalike audience.
Oh, lookalike audience. So what does that mean?
Part of what we're doing is advertising out to new people who are not aware of you at all. There's tons of them. That's really the big growth sector that we need to hit. So we're running some ad copy right now with a bunch of your paintings on Facebook. And it's just taken off, really well. I mean, I think we're getting way more than... We're actually above average on engagement and above average on return on that. By a long shot. And I'm going to die from coughing here. But the thing is, the most important part of it is that you're connecting on Facebook right now really well. And it kind of took up steam, what propelled us to this point was just putting out really good content consistently to get a small base. And now that we're over sort of a milestone, we're going to keep chugging along much faster.
What's my next goal?
Your next goal?
On Facebook.
On Facebook?
Yeah.
2,500.
Okay. That seems very doable.
You kind of go 1K, 2,500, 5K.
Okay.
You go up that way.
When does Jeff Bezos invite me into outer space?
Into outer space?
Yeah. Vic, we need you in outer space.
Hey, Vic, we need you. We got to have you. It's first live stream painting in space.
Well, that'd be cool.
Oh, this is going to be fun. We're just going to be coughing through this whole thing.
Yeah, we need a cough button.
Folks, bear with us.
All right.
We're really trying hard here. We did not give up today.
Hey, I feel so good compared to the way I felt last week.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's because you can actually breathe.
Yes,
right now.
I am breathing through my nose.
It's a blessing and a curse.
Do you want to get personal?
Sure.
I don't want to go there.
Okay.
Okay. I don't want to beat up on any of my colleagues. All right, so 1,000 likes on Facebook.
Definitely talking
It's
about
better
that.
than 1,000 little cuts. Death by 1,000 little cuts.
Sure.
Okay. Influence video Dali. I'm reading off a list here.
You are.
So,
We're doing a video this week about one of your biggest influences.
okay, so Salvador Dali knocks it out of the park for me. And we're going to be talking about a painting that I did called Hatchlings.
Yep.
Now, Hatchlings was... Hatchlings was inspired by watching my kids. Okay. Thank God for editing. When I used to watch, when Skylar and Ariel were 3 and 4, they would bathe together, and after they would bathe, they would get dried off, and they would run into what they called the mommy and daddy room. They would jump up and down on the bed, and they would start dancing, and they would start laughing. And one of the things that I realized when I was looking at it was that it doesn't matter how long I live, I'm never going to be this happy.
Right.
And I have to record this. So I made a painting of them jumping up and down on the bed, jumping up and down on the bed, dancing and jumping up and down, whatever they're doing. And I put a gigantic leatherback turtle in it on the bottom and another turtle on the top. I forget his name. And I held the painting together with a gigantic spiral, and it's very psychedelic looking, but there's like a whirlwind of paint going around from left to right and spiraling through the whole thing.
Yeah.
And while I was doing the painting, I had a copy of Salvador Dali's Tuna Fishing taped to my canvas. Mm-hmm. And I was using it as I had never done a painting that had a lot of yellow in it. But Tuna Fishing isn't really a painting with a lot of yellow, but I put Tuna Fishing up because I wanted to mimic his color palette. And he uses a lot of vivid, almost Latin-like colors, like real, your reds, your blues, your yellows. Mm-hmm. They all go to like a pure version of the color. And every subtlety in between. He's such a master. When I was in high school, I went to the High School of Art and Design on 57th Street and 2nd Avenue. On 57th Street and Madison Avenue was a gallery called the Nola Gallery. And in the Nola Gallery, the Nola Gallery carried Salvador Dali's work, and this was like in 1971 or 1970. And they had the original tuna fish painting there. And I got to go after school and look at this painting. And I looked at this painting multiple times. I would just leave school, walk 4 blocks, and look at what I would consider was the most incredible painting of the 20th century. And it was just there. I could walk up to it. I could even have touched it if I wanted to. The painting is about, I don't know the dimensions of the painting. It might be like 18 feet by 12 feet. It seems like it's 24 feet by 18 feet high. But the painting really might be as high as like 10, and it might be 16 feet. But it's a big painting, and there's a tremendous amount of work on it. And it took him 2 years to do. And he did it when he was 67. So let me see. He was born in 1904, He did it when he was 67. It might have been 1971 or 1972. I was looking at the painting. And I was in shock. And I was just awestruck. And I couldn't believe what I was seeing. And I'm going to be 66 next year.
Yep.
And I might have to take off for 2 years and do a painting. I have a painting in my mind.
Might be the...
I have to so at 67, he does this painting. And he's done a lot of magnificent, incredible pieces of work. But I think he wants to top himself or just add something that is undoubtedly a masterpiece. And I think this was his last masterpiece. Like everything else becomes a minor work in comparison.
Right.
And he might have like 2 or 3 other paintings that are as ambitious, but this seems to me to be the most ambitious. So when I was doing Hatchlings, which is my most ambitious painting, but really a quarter of the work or less than tuna fishing, I had tuna fishing taped to my canvas. And it sort of pulls you forward. You're just continually inspired, and I was continually inspired. And one of the things that he does when he's painting is when he's designing, he will create shapes that are very abstract or very cubistic or very doodle-like, and he will put them in or on the side of a leg. And instead of just rendering a leg so that it's got a shadow and it's got skin tone and it's got everything that you would see in a classical painting, he puts the kitchen sink in there and he makes it work. And one of the things that I learned from him, and I also learned from a teacher of visual arts, is when you're painting, to design shapes that don't necessarily exist, but they fit in place, and you're looking at something in a new way and creating. Very often I'm creating stuff that seems to be generated almost by my handwriting. And doodling is almost like my handwriting. And my handwriting refers back to watching my father's command of his script, his ability to his penmanship was just so incredible that I looked at it like it was an art form. And so Dali does that. There's a lot of there's invention on top of invention, and it just doesn't end. And if you look at sections of, I'm very proud of some of the sections in Hatchlings because you can look at it as a total abstract painting. It even harkens back to Cubist paintings. It's sort of like, what are they painting? They're painting strange patterns, or that all of a sudden are a little bit bigger than a pattern, and then all of a sudden they become a figure. So that's a new way of looking at a figure. Dali takes all of that and crams it into the side of a leg. And I did that a little bit in Hatchlings. Very abstract conversation. You have to see the painting.
Of course. And
see both paintings. And then you can see a number of different paintings by different people.
So you definitely want to go check out that video. It'll be on YouTube, Victor Stabin. It'll be called Victor Stabin on his influence.
What's influencing him? So there is something I could talk about as far as Dali.
Yeah? What do you got?
Well, he came to my high school.
Yeah.
And the story that I'm going to tell is he came to my high school. He was on stage. He actually lived at the St. Regis Hotel, which is down the block from my high school. So he did business in that part of Manhattan, which is Midtown.
Okay.
And, it's a commercial crossroads of the world, and one of them. And one day he decided to come to the High School of Art and Design. He brought 5 paintings. He put them on stage. He had 3 gals with him who were models that were dressed all go-go-ish.
Sure.
And they were all kind of Vanna Whiting the paintings,
see, now you see.
Hula dances with their arms out towards the paintings, right? And Dali was talking about what was going on in each painting. His English it's pretty rough. He doesn't speak English that well. He's got an insane accent. And when he starts talking about the imagery, it just flies off the table. The wind comes and just blows everything around, and you don't really know what he's saying, but you're mesmerized, and you're trying to get clues as to what he's saying as to how it coordinates with the image.
Yeah.
Plus, he had a pet ocelot. And
Okay.
the ocelot shit on the stage. And after the cat shit on the stage, the school went crazy. Right.
That's all I gotta say.
That's all you got to say. So afterwards, I came up to him and I said, I want to give you a gift, maestro. And I have 2 hits of Orange Barrel Sunshine.
Uh-huh.
And
what did he say?
He said, I will only accept this gift if you take it with me. So I dropped acid with Salvador Dali, and it was really good acid. And then we went back to his hotel room, and we listened to Jimi Hendrix's album, Are You Experienced? That I think it was Are You Experienced? It wasn't Axis Bold as Love. The one that has Third Stone from the Sun.
Uh-huh.
We listened to it at 3 different speeds, and we listened to it backwards a little bit. And while we were listening to it, he was showing me prints from a book that he had on Hieronymus Bosch. So he was turning me on to Bosch, which is sort of like, Bosch predates Dali by about 400 years. And Bosch was like the first Salvador Dali. And he sort of sets a watermark that is indelible, and you can't compare him or say he's not the greatest. He's like one of these guys who's just on that dais of like gods. And so Dali's turning him on to me while we're listening to Jimi Hendrix and on LSD. And one of the things that was happening, it was the year before I saw the painting on 57th Street. There were sketches on the wall for tuna fishing. And it got really late, and I crashed on his couch. And I kind of woke up in the morning, and there was a man. He was just like he lived in this place, but it was kind of like an apartment with like a kitchen and a dining area, and it was his headquarters in New York City. I woke up from sleeping on the couch, and there was a man peeling an orange that was really vivid. And I said, oh, hello. I woke up, he goes, hello. I go, oh, hi. He goes, my name is Dr. Hoffman. And I said, oh, my name is Victor Stabin. He goes, well, I'm Albert Hoffman. And I said, oh, wow, it's the morning. My parents don't know what happened to me. And I kind of went into a panic, and I said, I got to go, right? And so as I was running out the door, somebody else was coming into Dali's apartment. It was a man in a Harris tweed sports coat, and he had a goatee. And I bumped into him, and I said, I'm sorry. And then I was leaving, and I was thinking about the guy I bumped into, and that was MC Escher. And
Go figure,
right? Albert Hoffman is the man who invented LSD. He lived to be 103 years old. So it was quite a night. That's my Salvador Dali story.
Steak and cake party.
Steak and cake.
So you have the Arrow Project.
Well, we have the Arrow Project. And the Arrow Project, have you heard about it, folks?
I think they've heard about it. They've been hearing about it for a while now.
It's a funny thing. You know, I'm getting a lot of slaps on the back, like, hey, that was really brilliant. And it kind of started out as a little bit of a nail-biting situation where it's like, well, so what am I doing now? And then all of a sudden I had 15 pieces up and pieces of art with arrows on it. And now, as of this week, I have 33 pieces up.
It's a good number.
Basically,
those are not rookie numbers.
It's less than a mile of road. And if you divide a mile of road up into 33 parts, you're going to have artwork up all over the place.
Yeah.
And so I just have people telling me that how brilliant I am, which is so funny. And a lot of people are telling me that they are passing people on the street constantly, and they're all talking about, what does this mean?
Uh-huh.
Where did these arrows go? What is this artwork? Hey, this artwork's cool. And it's starting conversations. And today, one of my best arrow installations is going up. There's a lawyer. I forget his name. I'll have to apologize.
Give him a shout out. Yeah.
Give him a shout out next week. And he has a window where he has a beautiful storefront window, but he doesn't really use the storefronts other than he has two easels. And he puts artwork on the easels from locals.
Yeah.
And Jenny asked him if we could put one of our pieces, and I made a piece of arrow art with the cat, which is the feline fig fawn. I made it a little bit bigger because he has a nice size easel, and it's kind of showcased in this window display where it's a window display for art.
Yeah.
So I've been looking at it for 17 years thinking, I should say hello to this guy and just see if he'll put a piece of art, my artwork up. But I just never got to it. It would float in and out of my consciousness, but by the time I get home, I totally forget about it. Jenny took care of it. She got it happening. Then the other thing is, there's a rectory. What is a rectory? That's where the priest lives. And it's right next to this church called Immaculate Conception, which is a gorgeous gray stone building. I don't know what kind of stone it is. It sort of looks like something from Edinburgh in a way. And the home next to it is where the priest lives. It's almost attached to the church. They're an institution. They're like one of the...
They're on it now. They're part of the...
Well, they're one of the more formidable buildings in town, and their property is gorgeous. Mm-hmm. And they now have a piece of arrow art up in their front yard. And, the priest has it on his porch.
Yep. Facing
his front yard. And so that was a big deal. And so steak and cake. We've been getting really great steak.
We
in
have
the restaurant, yeah. And
your idea was?
Well, poetic. Patty makes fantastic cakes. And I was eating a piece of steak. And I'd like to have a party for everybody who participated because, very often you might have to pay to get advertising space. But now people are aggressively coming after me, and my idea is to have a party for them. And I was eating steak and cake, and I just thought, I'll have a steak and cake party. Who's going to complain?
Yeah.
If you're not a steak eater, you're probably a cake eater. And if you're not, maybe you like the party. Anyway, so I think we're going to do that on the 19th of September. I'm not quite sure.
Okay.
And so the Arrow campaign has been... you made a vlog out of it. We made a vlog out of it.
Yep.
And Shirley Zolstein, who was my crush when I was in the 7th grade, who now lives in Studio City, California, Studio City, Los Angeles, wants to put one in her front yard facing east.
There you go.
So, superhighway coast to coast.
Coast to coast.
Yeah.
I can't wait to see... Speaking of the Arrow Project Coast to Coast, I can't wait to see photos of it and
from Shirley's house
and use them. Yeah.
Well, gonna have to be kind of clever to make that stuff, give that stuff a certain kind of traction. But
right. So the thing with the Arrow Project Coast to Coast, like having that imagery together is really funny, and people have been sending us images or links to different tourist or roadside attractions. Right.
Yeah, I forget the one that Curtis sent. Do you remember the name of it?
Rock City.
Sea Rock City.
So Sea Rock City. And
for hundreds of miles.
There was a guy that was talking to you about something down in Texas. He was at the museum this weekend.
Yeah.
What was that called? That was the thing.
Too many people saying too many things to me about... I don't remember. Too many people saying too many things to me about this. And it's reminding them of too many things.
Right.
And again, it organically... made itself apparent to me that I should do this because somebody came in and said they wanted to have a treasure hunt to the building.
And it's deeply resonating. It's a concept that people are aware of, and they all kind of know a similar attraction like that.
Selling a lot of prints through this as well.
That's really great.
And the other funny thing that's happening, which I think is really funny, people are following the arrows because they like the artwork. And
They're already
by the time
committed.
they get to the building
Uh-huh.
and they walk in, it's my audience.
Uh-huh.
My audience.
They've already committed.
They're committed to liking the work because that's why they're following
That's
it
why
for
they
a while.
followed it. Yep.
And so they're walking in and they're leaving, and I'm making sales like crazy.
It's like prepping somebody for a deal.
Yeah,
You know, you're almost...
like Jenny said, I should make T-shirts that have the arrow on it,
Uh-huh.
arrow art on it. But really, all I have to do is sell the book.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like a 1 mile ad for my book.
Basically, yeah.
Yeah, and then people wind up buying other things as well.
So we're gonna have this steak and cake party. It's only arrow holders.
It's people who basically are on West Broadway. A couple of people are off West Broadway. It's for people who helped me. That's it.
Well, you'll hear more details as we get closer to it happening.
Yeah, but if you're listening to this, chances are you're not invited. It's true.
Better luck next time.
You could call up. Maybe we can have an installation. At one point, I was thinking people might want to get paid for actually allowing me to place the artwork on their establishments.
Mm-hmm.
Now maybe I'll just charge a small rental for the artwork on.
You just charge them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Charge them. Yeah.
Smart.
Okay. Yeah. Brilliant. See what happens. Handsome and young.
We got to make the video. We're making a video about State Museum this week.
Yeah.
And we're doing a little thing just about how much work has gone into the building.
Oh, yeah. We're always trying to figure out what the content's about. And the other day, you said, we could use different sections of the building in the vlog, and it'll just look spectacular because they're all so different.
Yeah,
There's
every room.
Corners all over the building. And what I thought was, wait a second, the building, instead of talking about a painting, the building to me is an art form.
So let's do the video on the building, yeah.
So let's do a video just on the building, and then, what do you do first? You do all the different situations where you're doing the vlog in this section and that section, and then you wake up one day and you say to everybody, you ever wonder, hey, where is this?
Where are they that they're filming this?
So it's either what came first, the chicken or the egg?
Sure.
Or the feathered egg?
Yeah.
I don't know.
And we had a new added benefit, blanket Wi-Fi. Come to the State Museum in Jim Thorpe, you got working Wi-Fi. That's been bothering you for months.
Well, you open a door, the Wi-Fi goes off.
It's a silly thing, right, to talk about.
It is.
The Wi-Fi
It's kind
working.
of pretty boring, but it's a big building.
It's a big deal.
Well, we have Alexa playing music all over the place. If you open a door, somebody walks in and out. It just goes off. You have to resummon it. And it's distracting. There's so many little distracting things in a digital environment.
Yep.
But I think we whipped it.
We definitely did. And both of
And
the...
if we could tell you exactly what we did and how we placed the transmitters and the wiring, but it could be the death knell of this podcast.
The important part is you have a couple things going on here. So you have a restaurant that's a selling environment. People are supposed to be relaxed.
Yeah.
Having little distractions like that. Once you set that tone where here there's music in this dining environment, if it keeps cutting off again and again and again, it's kind of distracting. And in the museum, it's part selling environment. It's also very much so a place to enjoy works of art. And so when you have that constantly cutting off, it's changing the atmosphere, the context in which you enjoy something.
Well,
so
I have a gallery that has music in it. And also it's licensed for alcohol.
Right.
So if you're walking around in the museum, you can be drinking, listening to music, and looking at art. I could have a place where it's very solemn and the art's sacred and there's no drinking. There's no music, but fuck that. Come on, let's party.
Yeah. So if we're going to do it, we might as well do it right.
Yeah. So I got Wi-Fi and I'm partying now. So there you go.
We were talking about this before. You had mentioned it, that you were going to have a student come up that you were helping with her drawings.
Yes, she did.
She finally came up. So that was Emma.
Emma White.
Emma White came up with her parents. Do you want to tell people that story?
Well, all right. My kids go to charter arts, and I introduced my Data Doodle curriculum to the powers to be at Charter Arts. And the school's one of the top charter schools in the country. It's really a fabulous environment. So glad my kids are going there. And they liked how the dictionary curriculum lends itself to creativity beyond what people normally expect. And so they wanted to turn the making of a alliterative character into a musical because they have an English department, creative writing department, a music department,
link them all together.
Theater arts department.
Interesting.
So they want to write their own story, turn it into a book for a musical script, and have all departments on hand figuring this out. They want to do it over a 3-year period. So the first step was getting the art department to have the kids come up with the initial characters, and they attached themselves to the creative writing department at the same time. So writers and artists were coming up with the initial alliterations, the initial characters. Emma came up with one about a primitive zebra called a quagga. And not last year, but before the summer, I went to the school and I gave a crit of the work that this one class did. And basically Emma's was the one that stood out. So I said to her, let's work on this over the summer. So back and forth by just sending snapshots through email, I gave her lessons, and she had her particular picture had 3 or 4 sections in it that could be so detailed that each section told the story. So I had made her do like 4 sections, 4 separate things that would eventually be sewn together. So she wound up coming here with her mom and dad. They live about, 75 miles away.
Yeah.
70 miles away. And everybody comes to that school from like a different point. So they came from the farthest point to where I am from where the school is. They would be passing the school in the middle of their journey.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's an uninteresting detail.
Well, the interesting detail in there is how long they said, or how much they were doing to get her to school. Remember, they had remarked at one point where they're driving her all that distance to get to school, and he was like carpooling at some point.
Yeah, people are getting their kids to the school, and sometimes the school's 35 miles away or 40 miles away.
Really putting a lot of things
Parents
aside
are figuring it out
to make it happen.
So they figured out how to get to my place, and I worked with Emma, and I sewed everything together in Photoshop, and we made one picture out of her 4 illustrations. And we have, I don't know what to expect from teenagers or people teaching in high schools. Everybody's like... teenagers are kind of callous as to like keeping in touch, and teachers are sort of overwhelmed dealing with like each teacher might have like 120 kids.
Of course.
But I'm pretty sure that Emma walked in with something that she created over the summer that probably impressed. And I'm just sort of wondering if anybody's going to call up and say, hey, it was very nice of you to help her. It really turned out terrific. We'll see what happens. And if this project goes forward and it starts to get closer to whatever steps it would take to be turned into a musical, that would be cool. I really don't know what to expect. I think to make a book for a musical is Herculean.
That's a big task.
It's a gigantic task. It might be beyond like what kids can do in high school. It might even be beyond what people do in college, for all I know.
If there's any high school that could do it, that would probably be the place, though, right?
Sometimes their work is so impressive, I don't know what to think.
Exactly.
So, hope for the best, and keep it at that. All right, well, listen, we got 1,000 likes on Facebook this week. It seems to have grown to 1,200. That's an accomplishment. I want to thank everybody for that. This is the Victor Stabin Project. See it on YouTube, not on Instagram, Facebook, and where else?
Spotify, iTunes.
Spotify and iTunes. That's a new thing. I'm going to have to start preparing myself to remember.
We're in it.
That this can be summoned up through your smart speaker by asking for the Victor Stabin Project.
That's right.
When?
Probably by the time they're listening to this episode.
That is going to freak my family out.
Is it?
Yeah, instead of listening to Jazz 24 while we're having dinner, it'll be the both of us talking.
About this right here. That would be a meta moment.
God.
Perfect.
All right.
We'll see you guys next time. Thanks for listening.